Patrick Findaro, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Excited to have on Pete Warhurst, a very successful entrepreneur with multiple ventures, two of which being in the franchising space. Many of you have heard about Pods, a franchise that he successfully exited years back. Many of you might not yet have heard of Red Rover, his franchise that's revolutionizing the industry that he had spent a lot of his career in. And I don't want to talk too much about it. Pete, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you're still in the game with Red Rover.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Patrick. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I sold Pod back in 2007. Thought I had retired, and I just have an active mind and couldn't get away from thinking about the business and some of the things we could have done better. So that sort of spurred me to start Red Rover and try and make a new category, if you will, between Pods and U-Haul and the moving space in general.
And if you don't mind going back to your original start, because it wasn't you kind of fell into entrepreneurship from what I understood, and we're in the technology space before going to the self-storage.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually was a firefighter, paramedic down in Florida, and it was in the early days. It was I started there in '73, and somewhere in the mid '80s, 911 was coming into the county, and I was asked to get involved in making 23 fire departments and police departments all into one dispatch center with 911 systems. And I got involved in that, and I broke away from the fire department, and we ended up building a company that was the second largest 911 provider for police, fire, and EMS records management. And ultimately sold that off to Bell Atlantic in the late 80s, I guess it was. Again, thought I had retired. I got a little bored and decided to build a mini storage, a traditional side-of-the-road mini storage. And that was going very well. I thought, I'd have 2 or 3 employees and I'd be able to play my golf and combine kicking around the mini storage every now and then. Just one day said, okay, let's build a second one. And Pinellas County over in the Tampa Bay area is very densely populated. And with mini storage, you have to have the right highway frontage and the right zoning and no competition around you. And just never could get to find the right piece of property. And just one day said, what if we brought the storage to the house? And that was sort of the starts of Pods.
This is what year? What year was where you first brought the first physical Pods to a customer's house?
We started in late 97, 98. So it was either December 97 or January 98. I don't remember exactly which day it was, but the company was up and running.
Ahead of the trend of going to the customer's house, where now, especially COVID, it like accelerated for so many industries where, now everything you can get delivered or service provider to you, but going back to late 90s, it wasn't like that at all.
It wasn't like that at all. And, I didn't know if we'd have a business or not. I figured I'd build 100 boxes and see if I could deliver them to people's houses. And ended up very quickly growing to where we were building the containers and sending them out with wet paint on them as they were air drying as they were going down the highway.
And did you have like a few corporate locations in Florida, then decided to go through licensing or franchise business model?
Yeah, again, I thought we were going to have 100 boxes, and I think they have somewhere pushing 300,000 boxes now. Wow. When we started, we dropped one in a customer's house, and our very first advertisement was a radio ad that aired during the commute. And we were listening to it. We knew it was going to air, and so we listened to it. And all of a sudden, the phone rang, and we had 2 or 3 people that said, "I want to rent one of these things. Tell me more about it." And I had 2, 3, 4 people say, "I want to invest in your company." And that was the very first ad. We hadn't even gotten off the ground. So I knew we had something, And Pods, fortunately, was started in a very high tourist area, Florida, Clearwater area, and it has. We were attacking 2 industries, really, the full service mover and the truck rental companies. And, back then there was no other alternative. When we were putting these things in the driveways, tourists would see them and they'd sort of get the idea as to why this was a better mousetrap. And literally we sold franchise after franchise just because people saw the container. We were attacking an industry that needed to be attacked. It's an intuitive product, and that's sort of leapfrogged us. We had customers start to ask if they could move, if we could deliver the container in another part of town or then another part of Florida. And so we said yes, 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 and then just started growing and growing.
I mean, it defrayed significantly your marketing expenditures for, new clients that move in, and then like forget franchise development. There's people that spend, $20,000 just to get one franchisee to sign a franchise agreement. That's 15,000, 20,000 is kind of industry standard, where you're just having franchisees seeing the pods, reaching out.
Exactly. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, we realized we had more than we could afford to do on balance sheet, and could pay for by ourselves. And so we said, okay, let's franchise. And our first franchisee was down in Sarasota. And every time another franchise would open, I'd get 2 or 3 phone calls from somebody in that area. I specifically remember Indianapolis. And they opened, I got like 3 phone calls that day saying, I want to buy a franchise, just by seeing the containers and stuff. So I knew they had opened up. And I often refer to it as the gremlins, where you get them wet and they just keep multiplying and stuff. That's exactly how it was. Yeah, we were just fortunate. It was a good product. We were attacking an industry that needed change, and like to pride myself in the fact that we created a very fair franchise agreement, and that was profitable for both sides of the table. And I think that's really helped us as well.
Let's talk about that, because I've researched some of the competitors of Red Rover, and the franchisor is making money they're making a lot more money, not on the royalty, but all different types of fees, whether it's technology fees or principally selling the equipment to the franchisee at a really substantial markup. So yeah, I'd be curious, how did you tackle that balance with the franchise agreement with pods? And then could be a nice segue into Red Rover.
Right. We didn't have a manufacturing source. Again, I thought we were going to have 100 boxes, and we ended up, I think we had somewhere around 70,000 boxes when I sold the business, and we had 5 manufacturing plants. So we did sell the containers to the franchisees. Again, we were consistently fair and reasonable about those types of fees. And so we had a markup, and we told them what the markup was, and they were allowed to look at our books and see. We weren't trying to gouge them. And so we made some money that way, and we made some money selling the lift systems. We had patented our lift system, and that thing's still around. I think it's done over 4 million pickups and deliveries, and it's still a great device. So we made a markup on that, but it was always reasonable, a manufacturer's markup. Pods, we took a different approach. We do have patented technology on the trucks that help us deliver and let the consumer utilize the truck. But the containers, we're going to own all the containers, and we lease them to our franchisees for $8 over our cost. And so as our cost...
This is Red Rover.
This is Red Rover. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have said that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is Red Rover. So we're leasing them to our franchisees at $8 over our cost. And as our costs come down, costs of funds come down and all that, they'll just consistently pay $8. So it saves them having to finance, they're $2,500 containers. It saves them from having to finance that. And the other nice thing that we do for them is that we keep them at 85% utilized. Portable storage and fetchable storage, in our case, is a very seasonal business. And when when you go out of season, it's very common to have, get down to 50-60% utilization of your containers. Yeah,
85's super high for your industry.
And so it's super fair for them. We say you pay us 15% for 115% of the containers you have leased is what you pay us for at $8 over our cost. So it saves them a lot of capital up front. It really improves their IRR. They stay 85% utilized year round. Very easy to predict what your revenues and margins are going to be. But the advantage to us in doing that is that we now own all the containers, so we can move any container anywhere. That's crucial in the portable and the fetchable industries, where if a consumer in New York loads up a container and we ship it to Las Vegas, if the franchisee owns it, we've got to get it back because there's a UCC filing on it and all these things. Deload, right. Backhaul. I mean, then you think about it, U-Haul and all the car rental companies have all these assets coming into Florida, right? You got to get them back to the north so that they can come back into Florida again.
I saw
And
like
so,
the price. It was like a U-Haul from San Fran to Austin. It was like 5K, and then the route back was like $800.
yeah,
And I
exactly. They wanted
imagine
to
it was
get
the
it back.
same for people coming to Florida.
Right, right. So we've sort of tricked that, and these are a lot of the things that we did better than we did at Pods, right? We have a container that you can fold down in about 20 minutes, and so at Pods we had to ship 3 containers back to the north at a time. That's all we could do. Our current containers at Red Rovers, we can fold them down and get 18 on a tractor trailer and ship them back.
Wow.
So moving the assets around and keeping them, utilized is our burden, but it's a lot easier task. And so, again, it's a win-win for both the franchisee and for corporate.
And you waited some time before start franchising, where that's not that common in 2022, 2023, where people have like a half-baked concept and maybe one corporate location and they're just selling like tens, hundreds of units.
Yeah. I was very fortunate. We opened up in Tampa Bay area, where we opened Pods, and I had a lot of followers there. That all of my investors made a lot of money. All of my franchisees made a lot of money. I didn't have a single franchise fail across the network. Yeah, that's unbelievable. And they all made millions. And so I said, okay, well, if I'm going to try this venture, I'm going to go back over to Tampa. And I was able to raise some fairly significant money early on. It got us into 2-3 markets. We had planned 5 markets, and then I was fortunate to have an old investment banker that knew me from my Pods day, heard that I was back in the business, and sent one of his lead soldier down to meet with us. And long story short, he's with Oppenheimer now, and last January, a year ago, we were able to secure a large equity deal with them. And so now we're in 15.
People don't talk about this enough in franchising, because at the end of the day, you're signing a 5, 10, 20-year agreement. And if the franchisor doesn't have a great balance sheet, they're going to start doing things that stray from their core values. And even worse, they might not be there, and there could be like a bankruptcy, and then you have a new owner that's coming in. So
no doubt,
it is really important.
No doubt, you want to make sure that the franchisor is healthy. And we've got a great partner in Oppenheimer. My shareholders I've gone back to a couple of times, my friends and family a couple of times, and we were able with the Oppenheimer investment. We're in 15 major cities around the U.S. now, and that's a pretty substantial investment, pretty substantial footprint to be kicking off a national program, right? And so our franchise program is really designed to help us fill in the voids and the blanks around the country. In order to do our long distance business, we have to have a presence in both the origination and destination. So
it needs to make sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So our franchisees partake in all those revenues, and we've put our money where our mouth is, and we're not gouging them for containers and fees. So our royalty is an 8% royalty, and that includes a ton of services. The call centers, some logistics, and all sorts of things. Yeah.
So from your side, the franchisor, if I understand correctly, is helping really heavily marketing, sales, the product development, and then the franchisees doing what? The hiring, training, firing, and client service?
That's right. Yeah, they're really, the franchisees are really there to help us build out the network. So most of our franchisees say they want this market, the market that they live in, because they know that market and they have friends and things like that. So you're exactly right. They find a warehouse. They have to buy a truck or trucks and then a forklift to handle the goods. They have to hire 2 or 3 employees. Ours is really a low employee. We're trying to really drive it to a low employee headcount. And we're doing that through technology. We have technology in our trucks and in our call centers, and our ability to monitor. We can shut down a truck if somebody goes rogue on us and starts driving to Canada or Mexico. We can shut down the truck and track it. And we geofence them and all this stuff. So our trucks are nothing like a U-Haul experience. These have backup cameras, lane departure. So we're really trying to use technology to keep the headcount low.
And it's important for your branding. Like, I've heard horror stories from restaurant franchisors that went into the food truck space, because you have some guy driving around with your brand on the truck, cutting people off, maybe doing worse stuff. And it's you can't have that. You got to cut the truck.
Right. And we're really unique because we, like U-Haul, we let the consumer drive our truck. We give them the truck for free. We give them the fuel for free. We pay the tolls. They get a free hand truck, free mileage up to 60 miles typically. So it's a completely unique experience. And, while that's good for distinguishing yourself from the others, it's a lot of education to the consumer. What do you mean I got to drive the truck? What do you mean I can push a button and the container ends up in my driveway? And, so we've got
I remember the customer experience too at like a U-Haul. Like I've gone through the numbers. Like U-Haul, the licensees don't make much money. It's really a side hustle. They're barely making any money, distraction from their core business. And I felt that as the customer going in to rent a U-Haul years back with my brother moving apartments. And it was just the dude, he didn't care. Like we were annoying him and, we're paying what was at the time a lot of money for us. And I felt like we should have been better educated on what the hell we were doing. I've never driven a truck before.
Yeah. And people are intimidated, but we do think our technology helps to ease some of that tension. I say, if somebody's got to get in the U-Haul and drive a big U-Haul or even a small U-Haul, our experience is 10 times better. Ours, you book it online, you go to what we call a self-service lot. It's literally a fenced-in, gated parking lot with cameras and security and everything. You have a code, you go in, the truck is sitting there, your truck is sitting there. We unlock it when you enter the code, where truck unlocks, you get in, you drive it home, you do your thing, you load it up, or you leave the container behind, whatever your needs are, and you bring the truck back to us. And we track it. We say you have it for free up to 60 miles. If you go 65, we'll probably just sort of look the other way. If you go 85, we're probably going to charge you for it, but that's all through technology. And when you come back, we take the container and put it in our warehouse, and you don't have to interact with anybody. And I think COVID, you talked a little bit about COVID offline there, and I do think that COVID created this new way of doing customer service and stuff, and a lot of people like it. The millennials definitely like it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to get on a phone call with someone. Like I want to do it myself, maybe message, SMS, WhatsApp, or just direct booking.
Yeah, it's all online. You can always call and we get a lot of calls because it is a new service and people don't understand how it works. And what do you mean I get the truck for free? Yeah, where's the catch, right? The catch is you pay for the container for a month. Yeah, but if you look at the alternative where you have to rent a U-Haul and then go down to a mini storage and rent a mini storage and unload the U-Haul into a mini storage and reverse that process and stuff. Here you pack once, you unpack once, you do it on your time frame, and the truck is free. I mean, it doesn't get much better.
So what would you say is like a typical use case that's like a profitable case for Red Rover, where you're like, I want this type of case all day. If we can just do this one case, we'd be super happy.
Yeah, we have three revenue sources, I guess is the best way to say it. We have the customer that needs some storage and they want it in our warehouse, and we stack containers in our warehouse 3 high, sometimes 4 high. The economics of that model is we pay $10 or $12 a square foot for a warehouse, and we're getting $15 to $20 a square foot for a container, and stacking them 3 high. So you can see we're generating $60, $80 for what we're paying 12 or 15 for. So those economics work, and so the longer the customers stay in the warehouse, obviously the better, more profitable customer that was. The second business is where you want to remodel your house, put it in your container in your driveway, empty some, or you're painting your house, you want to move stuff out to your driveway, but you don't necessarily need to go all the way back to the warehouse. So we charge less for that, but on the flip side of it, we don't have the expense of the warehousing and getting it to and from the warehouse and things like that. So that's what we call our on-site business. And so of those two businesses, 60% of our customers, local customers, go to the warehouse, 40% leave it on their driveway. And then the third revenue stream is the long distance. And that's the highest dollar, highest margin business we have. And that's where the customer's moving from Long Island to Las Vegas. They come and they get the truck and they put the container in the driveway for 2, 3, 4 days a week, whatever they want. And they take their time to load the container up, or containers. They bring the truck, they come get the truck again and bring the container back to us, and we'll hold it in our warehouse. So they say they're ready for it to go to Vegas. Then we'll put it on a third-party carrier, get it out to Vegas for them, and they just sort of reverse the process when they get their new home in Vegas. So all of those customers are great for us. The longer-term rental periods are better business. Our worst business is the 2-week rental that they come and they just need a couple of weeks, but it's still good business for us. And Yeah, we talked a little bit about the marketing stuff. Anytime I can put a box in a residential neighborhood, right, on somebody's driveway, I've got a billboard in their driveway for however long they keep it there. So even that 2-week rental customer, if they take it home and put the container in the driveway for a couple of days, that's a huge marketing advantage that we have. And there aren't many businesses that can put billboards all through residential neighborhoods, right? So
yeah, and I can imagine, especially when you're seeding a new market, like you're happy to have those 2-week customers, just like having the box in all different types of areas and zip codes.
And one of our strategies is we simply say the truck is free and the first month rent on the container is free, and people put it in the driveway. And fortunately for us, most people, when it goes into our warehouse and into the driveway, they think, okay, it'll be here for a month and I'll have this thing for free, or it'll be in the warehouse for a month. A year later, it's still in the warehouse. So, and that's great for us. And it's a typical experience for the consumer
it's like
as
people
well.
that renovate their house or renovate their business. Like they think it's going to be a 6-month timeline, but it's always like a year.
And it always is. And, you sell one house and you're waiting for the other house to be completed, and the builder says, okay, 2 weeks and you'll be in here. And 2 months later, you're still in the apartment or living with mom and dad or whatever it is. So, we make it easier. We make it very, very convenient. We make it very affordable. The revenue splits that we do with our franchisees are better than what we did at Pods, and our Pods guys made a lot of money. So it's a win-win.
And how much are we talking about to get in terms of like initial startup cost to open up a market at Red Rover?
It's a 7-digit number. You have to be a high net worth. It's a 7-digit number. If you're taking down, I have somebody that wants to take down all of Georgia right now, and so that's probably going on to an 8-digit number. Yeah, that is what their capital will be. If you go down into a 400,000 population, which is probably the lowest size we would recommend until we get a better brand awareness out there. But you'll just be at that $1.5 million total capital requirements and stuff.
Are you okay with people levering up? Like someone that's young and hungry, they get $200K from their father, and then they get an SBA loan to meet that initial capital?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we encourage it, and we do ask to see financials so that we don't let somebody like that get in over their head, right, where their money's coming from. And we don't want a failure. Again, no failures of Pods. I don't want any failures on this one. We'll safeguard. And we have people, a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to have 2 trucks and 50 boxes, and now you're providing me the boxes for $8 over your clothes. They think they can get into this for $100,000-$200,000. It is much more expensive than that. So, so we have to safeguard on that and monitor it. But
there's positive aspects about getting into a business where there is a proper barrier of entry.
No doubt. This is not an inexpensive franchise to build. It takes a lot of capital. There's a lot of portable storage companies out there that just have their little market that they starting up in, and they have a warehouse and they may have 100 and 200 containers, and they're making a business, but they basically bought a paycheck, right? They're making $100,000 a year or whatever it is.
And I haven't been that impressed by like the portable storage franchises in like the 200 to 500K range.
Right.
Maybe as the owner, you're making 100K, 150K, and you're working every day.
Exactly.
And you can scale up, but it's not so easy to scale up. There's going to be a lot of barriers. So
tremendous amount of barriers. And one of the biggest ones is you'll never tap the long distance businesses and independent. You'll never, because again, you got to have somebody on the receiving side. If you have a customer that wants to move out of Podunk, wherever, and down to Texas, you have to have somebody in Texas to take the container, and then you got to get that container back. So you're really just getting those 2 revenue streams, the on-site business and the warehouse business, and some local moves, but you're not really getting the high dollar, high margin business. And that's what we bring to the table. We've got the network, and it's just growing even more.
And then, say someone's listening and they're in one of the 15 or so markets you're currently in, and they're very excited about the Red Rover brand. They start the discovery process with you, but they really they don't want to move. Like their spouse works, they have their community, their church, they're happy where they are. Is there a possibility that they buy one of those corporate locations from you and you kind of franchise it to them?
Right. That's a great question. Yeah, we would obviously want to recoup our costs and maybe make a little 5, 7, 8%, whatever, something on our money that we did there.
For the time.
Yeah, for the time and the effort and everything else. But there's a possibility that we just sell the whole market to them. It depends on what the market is. There's some that are pretty religious around here. We don't want to give those up. But there's a lot of there's several that we would sell, and it's a good way to get into it. The other option is if it's a big market, Los Angeles, for instance. Maybe we carve out a section that is more appropriate size for whoever this is in their budget. So we can cooperate within an area as well. I remember Atlanta, we had 2 franchisees, and there's several other places at Pods that we split the markets up, and we can control that with our systems.
What are some of your lessons learned being the founder of basically the top storage franchise with Pods, from like franchising as well as just like the industry? Maybe if you could touch on that, franchising as well as just self-storage, now that you're now onto Red Rover.
Right. Well, the number one thing we learned is that you don't want a fixed container. You got to go to a folding container for backhauls and logistics purposes, economics, and all those types of things. That was probably number one. I honestly do feel that we were extremely fair in our franchise program at Pods, and like I say, it really made a lot of money. The people that bought it from us began buying back the franchises. That was part of the agreement, and they got a nice multiple on that buyback. So I think a lot of those things that we put in that agreement, we've also put in our agreement, but then where we maybe had the hiccups and stuff, we moved around on some of those. From an industry standpoint, I think we pretty well understand the industry and how to approach it. We really didn't want to be another Pods. We didn't want to be another portable storage company. We wanted to drop our company. I said Pods dropped in between the full service and the truck rental. We positioned our company between Pods and the truck rental industry. Really think we were going to go after the truck rental more than Pods, because I always ask people, how does, U-Haul or Ryder or Penske, any of these guys compete with a truck that we're giving you for free that has all the technology in it and stuff? So, we're really trying to carve away at that industry. And, the truck rental industry has 60% or 65% of the long distance business in America, more than the full service movers, more than Pods. Pods is down less than 20%. I forget what that number is, but that's how much of it they have. And so if we can really carve away at that truck rental business, I think we've got a huge advantage.
And it sounds like you also own the customer relationship, where if I wanted to move from Miami Beach to Southern California tomorrow, I could just deal with you, and I don't have to figure out the storage a little bit of time and
right.
It's wherever I'm going and like all those other logistics. And yeah, if you're just dealing with a U-Haul, and again, it's some guy's side hustle, like you're not going to be, the red carpet's not going out where you have all these ancillary service providers that are really rolling up their sleeves to help you.
And if you think about it, it's we have a concierge service. We don't even call it a call center because it's truly a hand-holding concierge service. When a customer shows up at one of our self-service lots, we see them on camera. We get alerted that they open the gate, and we'll sort of watch them as they're struggling with something or confused or can't find their truck or whatever. We'll reach out and call them and talk to them and stuff, and we'll tell them, we're with you all day. My name's Tom, and this is my number. Call me all day. And so by us taking that on as the franchisor, and that's included in their 8%, right? So in their royalty, but us taking that on as the franchisor removes all of that headache from the franchisee, and we leverage the volumes and stuff, and we just make it more cost effective for all of us. So it's a win-win, right?
So it sounds like the franchisee is just focusing on the tasks that need to be done like in person, and you can do everything can be virtual, which there's a lot of virtual things now in 2023.
Exactly. And they hire and fire. They find the warehouse space. They do guerrilla marketing. Get out and if there's a fair or a picnic or something going on
for that.
Right? You gotta have the personality, and you gotta have the drive to get out there and say, let me put a container here for you, for free, or whatever. And so you have to nurture your individual market. But we do 99% of it. And the upside for us is we get good franchisees. They're happy. They're making money, and our footprint grows. We look at Metcalfe's law all the time, and I think we have about 1,000 lanes now across America. And every time we add another franchise, that goes exponentially. It goes up. So we're excited about it.
Tell me a little bit, who's your ideal franchisee?
the entrepreneur, the previously successful business person, maybe in a franchise program, maybe not. Yeah, we want people to be creative. We want them to give us feedback and work with us. We don't claim to have all the answers. So somebody that can think outside the box, no pun intended, but and can just nurture the community that he's servicing.
Relationship builder.
A lot of relationships. Thanks.
You brought up a big point, like previous success. Like, and I've interviewed now over 100 franchise founders, our team over 1,000 franchisees, and like the best systems, like the people in the system, they were successful at other endeavors, whether it was as an employee somewhere, as an executive manager, and some business, or maybe they worked at the corporate center for the franchisor and they accelerated. But it's like it's a big indicator if the franchise system is going to be successful, like if the franchisees had a prior success.
Exactly, no doubt about it. And I went to college for 1 year. Don't have a lot of business college curriculums and so forth, but I absorbed a lot through all these different businesses that I was in, and if a franchisee has got the similar character where they can listen and absorb and then suggest and modify and enhance, that's the guy you want. Somebody that you don't want the guy that's going to sit behind the desk and just wait for the cash register to fill up so they can go to the bank, right? I mean, you want the guy that wants to work his territory.
Curious.
Hungry. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Wants to work the market.
Well, Pete, it's been awesome having you on, and thanks for sharing all your track record and prior successes and what you're doing at Red Rover. Do you have any concluding thoughts? I mentioned we have a lot of prospective franchisees, franchisors that listen in.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for having us because, obviously a lot of people thinking about franchising are listening to your podcast, and hopefully they hear this particular one, and it helps me as well. But I enjoy doing this. I enjoy maybe inspiring somebody out there that would like to start up something new and some of the hurdles. And if there's somebody out there that wants to call and chat with me about, how do I do this or how to do that, I encourage it. Just call the office and I'd gladly chat with you.
Awesome, Pete. Well, thanks so much for being transparent, open, and we'll definitely leave links for anyone that's interested in getting in contact with Pete and his team to see if a Red Rover might be a good franchise opportunity for their entrepreneurial endeavors.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Patrick.
No, thanks, Pete.